Now, I have an amazing guest. I'm so excited. I've been trying to get her on the show for a while. Nancy Solari is an authentic and successful example of how you can live the life you want with an empowered and positive mindset, regardless of the challenges you face. And Nancy is no stranger to challenges and facing adversities. During her childhood or teenage years, she witnessed domestic violence and the divorce of her parents at age 10. During these years, she struggled watching her sisters battle with the eating disorders and her mother fight breast cancer. This goes on. She's got a lot of challenges she's overcome. And one of them is that she's legally blind today. And she has been able to overcome even that challenge. And I want to know how you keep a positive mindset doing all this. Nancy, welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Wow. You have faced a lot of adversity in your life. And you're no stranger to that. So, what have you learned? Let me just jump in with you. What have you learned about this?
What have I learned about this craziness? I will say that, it's interesting because I hear you read that bio, and there are so many things I have overcome, but I also want to reset the time here that we all have, that we've all overcome something. And I think what I've learned is that there's the times when we're by ourselves where we have the ability to sink into a pity party. We have the ability to dwell on the why me or the what ifs or woulda, coulda, shouldas, right? And I realized over time that is just not a space that's productive. So for me, whether it was seeing my family break apart, watching my sisters battle their eating disorders, my mom with her cancer, all three of us daughters getting diagnosed with retinitis pigmentosa, there just wasn't time to really focus on the negative. Life was fluid and it was moving, and you kind of had to move with it. I hope that makes sense. Because
it does. And one of the things I did want to mention to our listeners, and that is, you've done a lot in your life. I mean, you haven't been any wimp here. You've been on Good Morning America, Entertainment Tonight. You were a singer, a top-producing realtor in Southern California. You're currently a successful business owner. You've done all that with these challenges coming your way, and I think a lot of people collapse under those challenges. So, how do you advise people not to collapse when the tough things are falling apart around you?
Great question. And it's interesting because I think you just have to keep stepping forward and looking for the open doors. So to kind of piggyback on what you were saying, yes, early on, I did jump into broadcasting because that was my dream. And as my vision started to change, literally I'd be looking at a teleprompter and I could only read like two words at a time. I wasn't sure with where my eyes were going negatively, unfortunately. I didn't know if I could keep up in that career. So I said, you know what, let's evolve again. I always loved music, so I went into the music industry, recorded an album, just really enjoyed that. But then again, my night blindness took play. And so I remember being on stage one time, and I almost fell off stage because I couldn't see the edge of it. And it was just hard to see with how dark it was with the really bright, blaring lights. And so I then couldn't really verbalize again where my vision was going. And so I transitioned again. I went into real estate, and I thought, okay, here's a career I can do in the daylight. I have a little bit more control over that. But then again, my vision took a jump, and the lines on the road started to disappear, and I had to get up driving. I kind of I would take like 2 to 12 buses in a day showing property, literally getting to a house, showing it, turn on every light possible, memorizing every step, and then I would jump on the bus, go to my next showing, and over time I hired an assistant and all of that. But where I'm going with this whole thing is that when life gives you challenges, when it gives you an obstacle, you have to go over it, you have to go around it, and sometimes you even have to reinvent yourself to move with what's happening in your life.
So what would you say changed you the most going through these experiences?
Great question. I would say it has made me very patient. I am a very patient person because, again, I'm not gonna judge timing, because my vision loss has taught me that, there's no guarantees on timing. You never know how long you can see. You never know how long a relationship will last. So I've become a very patient person. I also think it's made me a bit more focused. So when my sisters and I were told that we would be losing our vision, and again, I was 16 and they told us we'd be blind by 40, it was really game on as to experiencing all the bucket list items that I would need my eyes to see. I wouldn't need my eyes to play guitar. I wouldn't need my eyes to do certain things that were hobbies, but I would need my eyes to see Europe, to travel to Japan, and to get my degrees, because back then visually impaired products weren't what they are today. So I really prioritized, and I think actually in hindsight, losing my vision has given me that gift of focus.
Wow, so you really stepped it up then. And so it's like, I even get the message right now to our audience. I mean, listen, not that you're going to lose your sight, but, you may be losing something else in the next 2 years. What is it that you want to step up into and accomplish or become, not wait for the next, 10 years. I mean, I think if I had 2 years before I'd lose my sight, I'd be asking different questions, right?
Absolutely. And that could be true for losing your sight, having another health condition. Even with a relationship, I got a word from our mom recently that a good friend of ours passed away at 51. 51. I mean, that is so early. So you really got to maximize every moment of life. And that can even be sending someone a simple text saying, I'm proud of you, I'm thinking of you, or taking a day to, organize, not putting things off, because there's no guarantees of tomorrow. You only have today.
Exactly. So, this is a deep question, and but I want to ask you. I want to ask you this. So, who have you become? Who are you at your core, going through all this?
Well, it's interesting because, again, back when I was 10 years old, I was watching Oprah Winfrey like everybody else, and I was like, wow, that would be a great career, right? And so, again, when I started to move quickly, given my eye condition, and I got my degree in broadcasting and psychology, I kind of had that vision in mind. Now, again, life has its own timing, so it took a while to get to the place of being that talk show host, which I am today. But at the core, I'm a little bit of the thriving Nancy of today, but I'm also that 10-year-old girl. And what I think has been so interesting is when I look back at that 10-year-old girl, she was kind of the counselor of her family. Right. She was already that sounding board. And
well, so listen, I gotta take a break. I gotta take a break, so I'll come right back to that. We're talking with Nancy Solari, and I'll be right back. I'm asking her, who is she at her core, and who are you at your core? Let's figure this out. We'll be right back.
We'll be back with more Voices of Courage with Ken D. Foster.
Are you feeling stuck or in a holding pattern with your business or life, and you're not doing the things you want or love? Then at some point, you're going to be faced with a decision. You'll either choose to keep living in your comfort zone and risk a life of mediocrity, or increase your courage, step into your power, and forge into the unknown, where everything new becomes possible. If you're truly ready to live masterfully, then you need Ken D. Foster's newest book, The Courage to Change Everything, Strategies and Wisdom to Transform Your Life One Day at a Time. This powerful but simple guide provides you with 365 days of life-transforming wisdom, profound questions, and action steps that will increase your strength and open the doors to success. Stop wondering why your business or life isn't working. The answers are available now. Imagine if you had more courage or another chance to start following your dreams. To pick up your copy of The Courage to Change Everything, visit thecouragetochangeeverything.com. That's thecouragetochangeeverything.com.
With Voices of Courage with Ken D. Foster. Learn more about Ken, how to be a guest on the show, and sponsorship opportunities by visiting voicesofcourage.us. And now your host, Ken D. Foster.
Well, we're back. I want to give a shout out to my sponsor, Women's Wisdom. It's a organization here in San Diego that helps women to grow their businesses and grow their lives and become all they can be. Been around since 1991. Women's Wisdom in San Diego is the premier networking and relationship building group for soul-inspired, purpose-driven female entrepreneurs. You can find them on the web at womenswisdom.net, womenswisdom.net. I'm speaking with my guest, Nancy Solari, right now. We're talking about what makes her tick, but, I want our audience to think about what makes you tick. And Nancy, I didn't do this last segment, but I want to let everybody know we're talking about living full out, and your website is actually livingfullout.com. So livingfullout.com. Welcome back to this segment with me, Nancy. So your core, who are you at the core? Let's go there. Finish that up.
Yeah, going back to that. So what I've learned at the core is that I'm honest, I'm loving, I'm driven, all these different qualities. But again, life kind of washes over us, right? So it's the flaws, it's the times we fall, it's the times we nick ourselves or hit our head. I've done a lot of that being blind, a lot of times hitting my head, right? But it's all those moments that shape who we are. So, being here with you today, being a life coach, being a business owner, that is who I am today. But like I said, I'm still that 10-year-old girl as well.
Well, I hear that, and when people show up, I love the fact that you're a coach, because you're not seeing them, you're not judging them, you're listening to them or feeling them, and how does this help you?
Oh, it helps me a ton. It takes away the noise. It takes away any judgments, anything of that sort. In fact, even on a personal note, because I'm visually impaired and I can't really see people's faces, even when I meet somebody, I take their voice and what they say, maybe the touch of their hand, their embrace, and that kind of creates for me what I think they look like. And so talking to someone, it's, let's say I'm coaching someone on the phone or in person, it's that same thing. I'm not seeing rolling eyes. I'm not seeing if they're bored. I am so fixated on them getting that transformation, getting that aha moment, that I'm not worried about looking good. I'm not worried if they look good. It's just, what is the task at hand? What do we want to achieve?
You just taught everybody something, right? You just taught all of our listeners that, you don't need, in fact, maybe we don't even want to be looking at their eyes and their facial expressions. Maybe we want to just tune into their presence like you do, touch their hand and feel their energy and realize who they are. That's what I heard you say.
Absolutely. And anybody can do that. Anybody.
Right. Mm-hmm. So let me ask you, what concerns you the most?
What concerns me the most, I guess, in life is that people are losing their originality. People are so focused on looking good and competing and worried about what people are doing. I grew up in the generation before social media, and then even today, I can't even see that still, so I don't have that same, pressure. Right. But I really encourage your listeners to find out what makes them tick, what makes them unique and different, and let that be your lead in life. And that's not just in business. That's just being a good mother, a good father, a good friend, whatever your role is in life. It's just finding yourself and being an original and not competing with others. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's a little difficult for a lot of people to do, because that's not the message that we get from most media. The message is you got to look a certain way, you got to perform a certain way, you got to do this, or you're a schmuck, right? Or you're something even worse. Social media is that way today, right? If people are judged harshly on social media. But what I find, and maybe you finding this too, is that once you know yourself, the judgments don't matter so much because you're living from the inside out, not the outside in.
Absolutely. It's interesting. I got an email the other day from someone just randomly, and their very short email. All it said was, get a teleprompter. why are you not looking in the camera? Now, this was probably someone who probably looked at a YouTube video that I'd done, but they probably didn't research further to know that I'm blind. and so it's interesting. I use that example because we have to look beyond the obvious. And truly, in life, we're all storytellers. So even when you go to a barbecue this weekend or a networking function, you will always go further in life and build stronger relationships if you let people talk and you become more of a listener. That's one of the biggest things I've learned.
That's really good. So how do people, we were talking earlier about people transitioning their limitations. Any tips on that? Like how have you overcome these limitations?
First of all, I had to accept that they're always going to come. I don't think I realized how many, but at the same time, pain is pain. So when you lose a loved one, when you have a financial loss, when you lose your vision, things that I've experienced in my life, you get a little bit better at overcoming loss. I'm not cynical, I'm not defeated, I'm not any of that, but when a loss comes my way, I'm like, okay, I've been here before. I've survived this before. It's gonna be painful. I don't know how long it's gonna take me to grieve, but you know what? I've done this before. I'll do it again. And I'll tell you one of the best examples for me of that on a personal note is on my life. I've had 5 miscarriages. And I remember on miscarriage 1, it was devastating, but I thought surely it wouldn't happen again. Forward and forward and forward, even to number 5. It was equally painful, but you know what? Nancy had grown up. She had matured. She understood why they happened. So the sting wasn't as much as it was the first time.
So
hopefully that makes sense.
You've grown, you've evolved. And, I think that is a message of this show, is that everybody is really where they are in the perfect place, the perfect time for themselves. When we can really appreciate that and appreciate that we're in the same place, right? We're learning, we're growing. It's perfect for us where we've been placed or we placed ourselves. We can let go of expectations and let go of negative self-talk, which really allows us to expand our spirit. And you've really expanded your spirit. So I have about a minute left. I'd like to ask you if you have any final thoughts, and then I'd like to give the listeners your website again.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think my final thought is, just to really go after life in a big way. I think Living Full Out is not just the name of my company, but it's also kind of a movement and something that I live by. And just really maximize your time. Again, there's no guarantees of tomorrow. So do one thing today to support another person. Again, it could be a simple text. It could be sending them flowers. It could just be a phone call. And also do one thing for yourself. Celebrate not just the big milestones, but also the little moments, because I think we have to reward ourselves, and that also keeps us motivated and keeps us going.
Nancy, thank you so much. The website is livingfullout.com, livingfullout.com. Nancy Solari, thank you so much for being a guest. I hope that you'll come back in the summer. We can have you in studio. And
I love it.
All righty. So I'd like to thank both of my guests today in the studio, Mark Romero and Nancy Solari. This has been a powerful show. Hope all of you have a blessed week this week and really live out loud, live your life out in a way that really supports you growing yourself, and tell a friend about our show.